Welcome to magnificent Melbourne in the Australian sun. This is a fantastic city and it's a fantastic and slightly revised racetrack. We first raced here in Albert Park back in 1996. It's 3.2 miles, 14 turns now instead of the original 16, part of a larger redevelopment to encourage overtaking. The drivers enjoyed it in 2022. It retains the landmarks, the bumps, the challenge, but there's more opportunity to attack with those 5 corners to the left and the 9 to the right.
All right, good evening. Welcome everybody to episode 90 of the Fuel Pod. 90 episodes, dude.
90, that's crazy.
90 episodes. So anyway, obviously we're going to be talking about the Australian GP tonight and how it was probably the craziest race since Singapore last year. Sorry, Mikey. There was no way around that one. We're going to talk about some other crazy shit that happened during this race. So let's just kick it off. And I'm going to start with the mighty Red Bull F1 team, Red Bull Racing. And we have to talk about Max Verstappen and how he should have gotten driver of the day. And I'm going to tell you why he should have got driver of the day, because he actually made that a race, which was nice. I mean, he made it a lot nicer for everybody involved. So my driver of the day vote definitely went to Max Verstappen. I know that sounds awful, but it's true. So anyway, obviously he had a brake issue. Was talking about how it felt like he was driving with a handbrake on for the entire time, which the entire time was like 5 minutes.
If that.
And I don't even know if you guys saw him when he entered the pit lane.
It literally blew
and
up.
He went for the smoke out to get under the pit lane speed, and that right rear tire exploded.
Yep.
Well, it was his brake exploding, but still.
Yeah, it was like melting the entire track.
Well, yeah, he was on fire, man. And they left the debris out there for Lord knows forever for the entire race. But who knows? What are your guys' thoughts on Max Verstappen being out?
I hate it.
Wow. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You would.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly okay with it.
I could have went to bed right after that. The race was over for me after he went out.
That's when the
Red
race
Bull going to carry it.
Yeah. Yeah, but here's the thing. Perez has been getting, he's P2 the first 3 races, but he got himself in some hot water with the Red Bull Spin team, because he said that Ferrari would have won it no matter whether if Max was in it or not. And I don't know if I believe that, but he believed that. And
so
do we
know if it was just the Red Bull car just having trouble, or
it was just. I'm going to quote Max and say, these things happen. It's nobody's fault. It just happened. Mikey?
I don't know. It seemed like all weekend during practice, Max wasn't really comfortable with it. So you knew there was issues because he's used to driving perfection. You don't hear any complaints. When you hear complaints, the kind of complaints that he was giving out, then you knew something was up. Ferrari showed up fast, and who's to say they wouldn't have took it to Red Bull. Now, when he went out, millions of fans around the world rejoiced in unison. But for me, I hate to see him get beat that way. I would rather Signs have just smoked him on the track.
Yeah, and I really felt like, and I want to talk about Ferrari last, and when I do, it'll be at length. But I really felt like Sainz was on a mission. There was a lot of sportscasters and people around the game, even Horner said it, that was the best drive anybody's ever seen him do. Especially considering, and never mind, we're going to get to that when we talk about Ferrari. Checo brings in a P5, did his best. I don't think he could have caught the Ferraris on his best day. Hell, he couldn't have caught the McLarens on Saturday night. So, you know, McLaren looked good, and Checo shot himself in the foot, I think, with the penalty, the grid penalty, but it was a legitimate grid penalty. He impeded Hulkenberg during quali, and that was a disaster for Hulkenberg. So yeah, I he deserved what he got. I think he fought hard to do the P5, and I think that's important for Red Bull. So they did walk away with some points, which brings me to a team that walked away with no points for the first time in 62 Grand Prix, which is Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1.
Sorry.
I don't know if you guys heard Lewis Hamilton's power unit fail, but like he's driving and the car's like, and then no sound from it whatsoever. Again, much like Max's car, there's nothing you can do about it when that happens. I don't think it was anything the team or Lewis did to affect that result, but he was out. And then I'm going to save let's just say George Russell was out, but I'll save that because I have 2 possible rants incoming. We'll see what happens. I'll try to calm myself down.
Well, George Russell just can't stand to see Carlos Sainz win a race.
Yeah, I think there's a few people that don't like seeing Carlos Sainz win a race.
As soon as it comes on the radio, Sainz P1, fuck it, I'm putting it in the wall.
That's a fairly good point. But man, let's work our way from the back of the field real quick before we go to the team that shall be named later. But first, I want to start with Stake F1, who somehow managed to have 2 25-minute pit stops. That's an exaggeration, of course, but they were long-ass pit stops. You could have watched an episode of Roseanne or something while you were waiting on Valtteri to get out of the pits, which is sad because Valtteri had that really awesome Uber Care or Uber Share commercial prior to the weekend starting. But, he just sat there in the pits, and he basically needed an Uber at that point and didn't have one. And then Zhou Guanyu comes around later, and he's in the pits, and he can't get out. And it's been the same tire every single time. It's almost like, well, we know what the problem is. We just don't feel like fixing it. So I don't know what your all's thoughts are.
You ever have those shopping days you're out running errands and stuff, you go to the Dollar General and there's a line through the store and you're sitting there waiting. Then you go to Walmart and there's buggyfuls in front of you and they've got 4 or 5 transactions per
and they're
person
they're using a checkbook plus EBT plus a gift card
plus coupons.
And they forgot how to write a check.
F1 pit stop.
Yeah,
I think that's how Bottas feels. Like, good Lord,
why is it always me? God, I thought it was.
What's the deal? They said there was like they're having problems with their lugs. Did somebody put standard round on their lug nuts instead of metric round? What the hell's the deal?
I'm sorry. I need to go back to the cash register lane and tell you this real quick. Now I'm scarred for life. So now you're dragging this out. But I gotta say, my least favorite. One time I'm in line and it was the buggy with 48 carts on EBT. Then the old lady with the checkbook who couldn't see and needed to have her check filled out for her. Then it was declined, and then she needed a card, and then she had to phone a friend, and she needed a lifeline. And then I finally get up there with my 2 items, and she's like, "I'm sorry, honey, I'm on break. This line is closed." And I want to believe that not everybody's capable of murder, but I'm just gonna say that was a bad moment. So anyway, back to racing. So yeah, Valtteri Bottas was having the F1 equivalent of standing in line at Walmart, basically. So, and then Joe got through there and he got stuck with it too. And that's unfortunate for both of them. Part of me feels like Steak F1, Salver, Kick F1 Steaks and Ham and stuff, F1 team.
Thanksgiving.
Is just saying, you know what, fuck it, we're going to be out in 2 years. We're just going to hang out. Next thing you know, it's going to be like that Ricky Bobby guy when Ricky Bobby got the job. Just going to get out of the car, go take a piss, eat a sub from Subway, get back in. Hey, man, what are you doing? You're supposed to be driving. I'm hungry. So anyway, that was Steak F1, which we just spent way too much time on. Alpine, still in the shitter. I don't think there's really anything else to say about it. No signs of life.
And I really wanted there to be. You know, I was really looking up to Alpine this year, and it's just going
like
down
Gasly.
that hill.
I mean, Ocon.
Yeah, I don't like
Ocon.
Ocon. I could care less about Ocon, but I like Gasly.
Yeah, I feel really bad for him, for Gasly. So anyway, Williams, talking about the double F over. So we're in quali. It was quali, right? No, it was practice, or was it practice?
No, practice.
Yeah. So Albon puts his Williams car into the wall, and Logan Sargent did not put his car into the wall. He returned with his car. And then it was Albon's birthday, so Sargent decided, you know what, I'm going to give my car to you on Sunday, and I'm just going to hang out. That's not what exactly happened, but except it's exactly also what happened. It's like, Albon, you wrecked your car, but it's your birthday, so we're going to give you Logan's car. And Chad and I were chatting about this, and it was a legitimate conversation on both sides, to be sure. But, my point was, I think James Voles said, you know what, Logan, Alex had 27 of our 28 points last year. So we're going to need you to just chill out.
Take a hike.
Yeah, ride some pine for a little bit.
Kick rocks.
Get some wood. And we're going to let Albon. Now, Albon had signs of life in that race. He had a wonderful fight with Hulkenberg, who I definitely want to talk about Haas next. Wonderful fight for P10 with Hulkenberg, which he lost. So he lost that fight, and Hulkenberg ended up in 10th. And then, of course, Hulkenberg only got 10th because of the Russell incident, which we're going to discuss later. But so it's one of those situations where it ended up not panning out, putting Albon in that situation. So anyway, moving on to Haas. Dude, I can't believe it. Haas put both drivers into points.
Crazy.
And last week, they also did a really good job strategically by letting Magnussen cover down so Nico could finish.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, I guess it was good that Gunther left, because they're actually showing signs of life.
Which they started showing.
Seems to be making the right calls.
Yeah.
Yeah. They started showing kind of the same signs at the end of last season, but they're starting really early this season. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's looking up.
So anyway, I thought Haas did a great job. We've already talked about Merck a little bit. Let's move on to Visa, Cash App, RB.
V-Carb.
Yuki looked good, man. I think, what did he come in? 7th place?
P7.
P7. He P7 after the Russell incident of 2024. Yeah. And I don't think there's anything else to be said about Yuki. I don't think he can expect to do any better in that car. 7th place, unless somebody has a mistake up front. So I think 7th place is probably the best option for that car. Danny Rick, and again, this is another thing that me and Chad were talking about this weekend, or today. Shitty weekend for him. He's one of those guys, if he has any one thing go wrong, that it takes all the breath out of him for the rest of the weekend. So he's on his quali lap, and he's turning out a burner, top 10 time, and he goes all 4 wheels over the charity stripe and has his time wiped from the record, and he ends up starting in 18th. Now, if you had him on your fantasy team, you'll notice you somehow got 9 points out of Danny Rick this weekend. The reason you did is because he advanced 6 positions, and he had 2 overtakes. But it's sad when his fantasy league sheet looks a lot better than what he did in real life. Helmut Marko's basically given him 2 races to turn himself around. That being said, he had a shit weekend. I get that. In his third stint, however, which was the last stint for him in the race, he was turning out 121 laps, which would have been equal to top 8 times, P8 or better. So, you know, he's got it. He's just got to find it early, and he did not find it early. And so that sucks.
I really hope he kind of kicks in the
No,
high
me
gear.
too. Me too. And if he doesn't, he does it, man. And that's what happens. You know, I think it'll always go down that the worst move he ever made was leaving Red Bull in the first place. So, you know, I think it's going to haunt him forever, and that's just the way life goes. But let's move on, man. Let's talk about, unless you wanted to really harp on Danny Mikey, because if you do,
I think he just needs to make
I'm
it
gonna
to
lay out
2026.
2 practice sessions this year. Danny has topped Yuki.
Yeah.
Yuki's kicking his ass.
Oh, he topped him at Bahrain too. Let's not forget that. In fact, Yuki was so pissed about it that he dive bombed Danny during the cool down laps. So, but
you know, I think the dream of Red Bull, having a Red Bull seat. Who knows?
Yeah, and here's my thing about that's shitty. I absolutely agree with everything you're saying. I mean, I absolutely agree. Here's the problem: the Red Bull car is a totally different car than the V-Carb car. It's more suited towards his driving style. But here's the unfortunate piece of it: he's got to do well in the V-Carb car if he has any chance of getting that car, which right now he has 0 chance in all of hell to get that seat. In fact, there are other people I think that have a better chance to get that seat, and we're going to get there in a little bit. But moving on, let's talk about Aston Martin, because I've been hard on him. I think everybody in the world has been hard on him, but Lance Stroll turned out a stellar drive this weekend in that car. They both did, but Lance Stroll should be commended on driving that Aston Martin car this weekend. He's kept his nose out of trouble. He made it to Q3 in quali. He outperformed his teammate, which is no easy feat.
No, not with it being Alonso.
Right. They were on 2 different tire strategies, and I think Lance had the better of the 2 for sure. They didn't have any errors in the pits. They were put together as a team, and so my hat's off to Lance Stroll this weekend. Thanks for finally being the second member of Aston Martin this weekend. Thanks for making it not a 2-part show where it's the team and 1 driver. Now, Alonso did what I would call fine. Which is a little bit above meh, right? I mean, he did, and then his fight at the end with Russell was a masterclass in how to defend, because Russell had DRS on him for like 5 laps.
Yep.
And like close up DRS, not 0.9, like 0.2 to 4 DRS, and he couldn't get past him. Which leads me to the rant. So George Russell, coming into the last lap, is down by 0.4, maybe 100 feet behind Alonso going into that turn. And they start to go around that turn, and Alonso said that he eased off a little bit, which he's well within his right to do. And by the way, they were on the inside of that turn. There was 12 to 15 feet of road on the right. And Russell decided to dive to the left. Well, guess what was on the left? Not road, fucking gravel and a concrete wall. And then he ended up flipping and rolling. And by the time the car came to rest, all 4 tires were on the same side of the car, which I don't even know how you do that. But that picture was hilarious, showing his car laying on the side with all 4 tires on the same side of the car. And then we find out way after the fact, and I was going to do a rant about really harping on Russell, and there's no way I can tell any of us would know what he said once he got in the steward's tent. But there was no contact in that incident. 0 contact in that. The only contact in that incident was Russell into the wall. And Alonso gets slapped with a 20-second penalty for potentially dangerous driving. What in the actual sons of F is potential. I was telling somebody today, I said, if you equated that penalty with baseball, that's if the pitcher throws a ball and it gets near the batter but doesn't hit him, but the ump throws the pitcher out and says, I was looking at his eyes and it looked like he wanted to hit him, and throws him out of the game.
The potential was there.
He had the potential to hit him, but he didn't actually hit him. So they slap him with a 20-second penalty, which drops him to P8, and they add 3 points to his super license.
Huge penalty. Huge.
Ridiculous penalty. And
for potentially hitting him.
For potentially dangerous driving. In my book, you either are dangerously driving or you are not dangerously driving. You might be thinking about dangerously driving, but you're not actually doing it.
That's like a cop pulling you over for potentially wanting to do 85 and a 70.
So my comments to you guys today in the text message string simply was, Russell was whinging about it. He's a Brit, so I have to use whinging instead of whining or griping. Americans gripe, Brits whinge. So he was whinging. I don't know if he had tears. I don't know if he was wearing a shirt in the steward's office, but anyway, I felt like he was.
I want to know. So the FIA just finished being investigated for doing Alonso dirty in Vegas last year, right?
Yeah.
And it's Alonso again.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to put some eyes on this. What's up?
Speaking of things happening again and again and again, what about Russell this weekend going out at Australia in the last lap of the race? Russell going out at Vegas in the last lap of the race? Russell going out at Singapore near the last lap of the race? I think it was a year ago, Russell going out at Red Bull Ring near the last lap. He doesn't know how to finish, man. He gets uptight, and I think he gets impatient, and he makes big mistakes on the last lap. Yeah, and that's just my call on it. You guys can disagree with me, that's fine, but
no,
I don't think
Alonso
deserved a 20-second penalty. I thought it was crap.
Hell no. No way.
So anyway, yeah, he screwed Mercedes out of points. And again, I don't know how the steward investigation went, but I guarantee at least a part of Toto, when he was in the debrief with Russell, was like, dude, really? I mean, I got your back as far as the griping and getting Alonso the penalty, but let's go brass tacks here. It's happened here. It's happened before. It's happened before. We got to get to where you're just as patient in the middle of the race or at the end of the race as you are in the middle. Because if you want to be where your teammate used to be, that's what kind of driver you have to be.
Here's the thing: is Russell knows he's safe for a couple of years until they find a driver. I mean,
here's
they can't get rid of it. They're going to be out of drivers.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and this is a hypothetical. Put Russell in Hamilton's car in 2021 at Abu Dhabi in the last lap when Hamilton and Max are going head-to-head for Max's first world title.
Yeah,
and they're trading paint and they're going back and forth. If that was Russell, that would have been a 2-car pileup wreck in the last lap.
Yep.
And nobody would have known who won the championship. So, I mean, that's obviously hypothetical in my opinion, but still, that's what I think.
That's a good opinion.
I think he gets overly excited when he tries to Ross Chastain it on the last lap, and it doesn't work out well for him.
That's a very good.
That's really that's
comparison.
Think about that.
Yeah,
because you look when he went out. When that going into Alonso slowed whatever, he was coming in pretty hot. I'm not 100% sure.
I think he fell asleep at the wheel. Anyway. Yeah, I think he came around the corner and was like, "Oh shit," and just took it off the road, like full American style. You know, we're like coming around the corner and we're like, do listen to our music. Come around the corner, car right there. Oh shit! Bam in the wall. So anyway. Let's move on to who you really want to talk about tonight, Mikey. I'm gonna let you just take it, and I'll be your sounding board. Let's talk about McLaren.
Let's do it. 3-4 finish, a team effort.
Yeah,
Lando was
absolutely.
quicker. They switched positions. They were,
And
I don't think.
British clapping for Piastri for just no argument.
Yeah.
He was
he
like,
just
yeah,
backed off.
No.
He's so Australian, dude. He's so point of fact. He's like, yeah, he's faster. Let him go.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was
I thought it was
super awesome.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be an argument, and it was flawless.
I think they're still, behind Ferrari, overall.
Well, yeah.
But they're setting P3. I'm happy with it.
Yeah,
I'm happy with
it. They're doing some good work.
How much of a gap do they have on Aston Martin? Because I know Aston Martin overtook Mercedes this weekend.
Pulling it up.
We need a guy in a chair. Hey, dude in a chair. Can you
20?
Yeah, we need Eric. That needs to be Eric. It needs to be Eric back in the
supposed
spot.
to be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
McLaren's got 55 points, Mercedes 26, Aston Martin 25.
Oh yeah, Aston Martin lost points because of that, because of the Alonso penalty. They were ahead.
That was it. It was so dumb.
Got a 29-point lead.
Yeah. Okay.
So dumb.
So yeah, that could go either way. I'm hoping Aston Martin, and not that I want them to pass McLaren, man. I'm not jumping on you here. I'm just saying, hopefully they're trying to do the same thing that McLaren did last year, I think, and have that upgrade package hit. Yeah, I think a lot of teams are. Mercedes.
Right now with Aston Martin, it's looking like that's as good as they can do.
Well, here's the thing too. If we get this version of Stroll for the other 23 races, they're going to be in good shape. They're going to be in striking distance of McLaren, I think. I don't think either one of them is ready to touch Ferrari as shit hot as they are right now. And I
Ferrari is cooking.
Which brings me to my last team to talk about tonight, which is the Scuderia Ferrari Formula One team. I want to start with Charles mainly because I pick on Charles a lot for griping if he's not the one in the lead, and for always having something weird happen to his car when it really shouldn't. He was a freaking team player for that race. He knew what was at stake. He knew how valuable a Ferrari 1-2 finish was. I don't think he could have caught Carlos anyway, but he did a great job of holding, and that was no easy task. I think he had the harder of their two races.
Absolutely.
Because he had to fight Lando and Piastri off and Alonso at one point. So those are three tough customers he had to hold off. And I also huge shout out, because I've also been super hard on them, Ferrari's team, their pit team. They were churning out 2.2 and 2.4 second pit stops. They also had an excellent pit strategy. So for the guys on the pit wall, salute to you as well, because you guys did a great job on when to bring these guys in and when to leave them out. And now let's just talk about the smooth operator, Carlos Sainz. So he got a great jump off the line at the start finish, but where he was on the track is not even when you get a good jump, it's not a good spot to be in. And he got pushed wide by Max. That's Max's signature move on turn ones, is push wide, and that's a smart move. Anybody would probably do the same thing. And then Max had the issue coming around on lap 2 where he's like, I don't know what happened. That was weird. I lost the car. But Carlos already had DRS at that point, and he was going to get him anyway. Would he have been able to hold it? We'll never know, and I'm not even going to try to say it. But dude, he drove the wheels off that car. He got an extra, I think, 5 laps on those first tires. Then everybody else, he stayed out. Everybody was coming in, switching out, and he stayed out. So he got an extra. So I really think Ferrari has solved their tire deg problem. If you've got him holding on to tires for an extra 5 laps, he comes in with a 25-second lead, which was enough to cover his pit stop and get out 5 seconds ahead of Charles. And then the next time he came in was also a perfect move. They had undercut with Leclerc, and then brought Carlos in a few laps later. And it was just, I think it also showed why Max is so good when he's already in first. Carlos was out there in clean air for the entire race after he passed Max. and Max is always in clean air. And this is where I think you can see the importance of having clean air. You're saving your tires. You're not working as hard. Yeah, a lot less stress. I think it's one of those situations where it was going to be his race. And then he, like I said, he drove the wheels off the car. But you had something else you wanted to talk about with the Ferrari team.
Yeah, I got a couple of things. Really, I'll real first touch on Sainz. I said if he races, he gets the award. I talked about 2 weeks ago, they opened his body, reached in, cut a chunk of him out, and sewed him back up.
And then he was in bed for a week.
In a race car and winning.
Yeah.
Tougher than a $2 a steak award winner.
Yeah.
I would need at least 2 more months of recovery.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Ferrari winning, and me and my daughter noticed last year in Singapore, that's lest we forget, they were the only ones to beat a Red Bull in 2023.
Yes.
The Italian national anthem.
Yes, man.
And with the entire crew singing along, how much fun was that? Me and my daughter sitting there. I'm going to say it right now. That's the best national anthem I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah.
It is. My family, we're huge into Broadway, right?
Right.
This is a Broadway number. If I knew the damn words, I would get it. I would love to stand up and sing along,
I like
come up with my own little dance routine.
You and I were talking, and it just feels like when they're singing it, they're celebrating their country. Yes. You know what I mean? And, we always sing ours like it's a piece of classical music, and there's other countries where it sounds like they're mourning the passing of a loved one. And this one sounds like a party. It's like, this is how great it is to be Italian. We're Italy, and we love it. And we think you should be from here too, but you're not. So suck it. So it's yeah.
Hearing that Italian national anthem for the constructors win, that was a highlight of my race. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah,
I mean, so much fun to watch.
It was nice to be able to put away my Dutch second citizenship passport and not have to do the. I was like, oh, thank God, thank you, Jesus. And dude, what about that trophy? Since we're talking about the celebration, the replica Jack Brabham wheel, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unless you were Lando and all you got was the silver plate without the wheel. So.
Yeah, it's just not. If Lando's on the podium, I think they need to be a little bit. The trophies need to be a little bit more fragile to give him an opportunity to break
him. Yeah, I mean, he did it 2 or 3 times last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah. Anyway, all in all, congratulations to Ferrari. Thank you for bringing it home for the Tifosi in a perfect. I mean, it was your all's version of a perfect game. 1-2 finish, excellent strategy.
Yeah, they were flawless.
Yeah, they were. They were absolutely. Yeah, flawless is the best thing I could think of. All right, so we got Japan coming up next here in a couple weeks. Like Australia, that place is a Wild West shootout. We've seen crazy races there.
It might be worse.
It could be rain. It might not be rain.
Yeah,
it could be overcast. It could be sunny. It could be a lot of things. But one thing Japan definitely is fast.
Very.
So, some people I'm looking forward to seeing race. I'd love to see Yuki do well at his home race for once. Always love watching Alonso at Japan because it's one of his favorite tracks. And if you've never watched Alonso's overtake of Michael Schumacher at Suzuka,
watch it.
Pull up the video of it. It's to me it is one of the most dangerous, best overtakes in all of Formula One.
I mean, that thing was deadly.
Yeah. So, and I mean, he just full sent it, and nobody else would ever do it where he did that. And that was amazing. So definitely look that up. Alonso, Michael Schumacher. I forgot what the year. It might have been like 06. The year you were born, Jason. So yeah, it might have been a little bit after that, but I doubt it. So
I think anyway, it might be a little bit after.
So Fantasy League. I feel like since the F1 TV crew, they always are talking Fantasy League F1. Had a crazy week. So, and I'm just going to talk globally about fantasy for anybody that ends up watching this. Yeah, tough break if you had Mercedes on your team this week, either as a constructor or either the drivers with the double DNF.
Or both.
Tough week if you had Mr. Ass Calendar himself, Valtteri Bottas, on your team, which I did simply out of necessity. I needed a fifth driver and didn't have money for anybody else, so I got stuck with Valtteri. But I also had all of Ferrari, both drivers and the car, and the constructor, and Alonso, and Aston Martin. So I did all right. Got 11 points out of got 11 points, I think, out of Hulkenberg. So it was a good weekend. Really trying to figure out a way to trade out Bottas, but I don't think I'm going to be able to going into Japan. Do either of you two have Yuki?
I got Yuki.
No.
So you got Yuki for Japan?
Yuki.
I do have V-carb on one of my constructors, and I'm real tempted to trade it out with Haas. Haas seems to be doing better, but here's the deal with V-carb. Here's the deal with Haas. They've never shown me that they can keep it together for a full season.
Yeah.
And V-carb, Helmut Marko's involved, and he's not going to put up shit for very long.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
As much as I want to trade it out, I keep thinking about that. Maybe I need to hang on with.
I'm keeping V-carb, and I might end up keeping Yuki. It just kind of depends.
One thing I would like to say about that Haas car, though, it does have this year's Scuderia Ferrari power plant in it, which is something to think about because it's obviously paying off not only for Ferrari but for
it's
Haas.
also paying off for Haas.
Yeah. And they're the new team principal. It's.
Yeah, he's doing great. I mean, I did like watching Gunther do the post-race interviews and Charles not understanding the word he said.
I think you just like watching Gunther speak.
Yeah, he's hilarious, man. He's like if Arnold was drunk. It's yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I was trying to watch the post-race interviews, and some other people in the house were talking. And if other people were in the room talking, I cannot keep up with what he's saying. So I had to give the old pause and like.
F1 comes first.
Chad and I were talking.
Pause it again.
Chad and I were talking about how puckered up Fred Vassar probably was for this entire race.
Oh yeah.
And then after he's still Fred Vassar, like he's just coming off of his little cup of espresso. He's like, "Yes, the Ferrari was very good today. My hat's off to Carlos, and such a great ride, and Charles and the whole team, and they were fantastic." And it's that whole thing. But yeah, I'm sure he was completely puckered up for that entire race. So anyway, guys, that's all I got tonight, fellas. We do have Japan in a couple weeks, so looking forward to preview on Suzuka.
We get a week break, right? We don't got to race this weekend.
We do not have to race this weekend.
And then it's Japan.
I'll be looking forward to the helmet liveries. Everybody always does special helmet liveries for Japan.
Yeah.
So I loved Alonso's last year. It was wonderful. Wait for somebody to go. I'd like to see somebody go full Dragon Ball since we lost the creator of Dragon Ball this year. That'd be a cool little tribute. It should be Yuki, but who knows?
Pokemon. I want a Pokemon helmet.
No, dude. We don't need Pokemon.
No, we need Charizard in an F1 car rolling through there, bro. That'd be crazy.
Oh, jeez. I'm surprised they're not putting Pikachu on the start-finish boxes.
Dude.
So
don't jinx it.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we got to talk about
Squirtle is my man.
Next week we'll be talking about Japan. We'll also talk about some comments that have been tossed around this past week about Carlos Sainz going to Red Bull, and of course Verstappen going to Merck. So we can talk about that this week and then throw it up on the show next week. But guys, listen, have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. I don't know what other racing we've got this weekend. I'm gonna try to find some probably since I don't.
We got some local dirt track racing, so I might end up, starting a little side piece this weekend. We'll see what happens.
That'd be cool if you did a little, little short form content.
A little bit,
or if anybody wanted to do some short form content, that'd be wonderful.
Maybe
I'd be all about watching that. So, anyway, You guys have a great rest of your evening and a great week.
You as well.
And thank you, folks. If you watch it, tune into us at 2Diddy4 on Twitter or X or whatever you call it now. I'm at JNeil729, and this is JP Freak 625. You guys have a great one.
Have a good one.